name's Lindy Cowling. Welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. Email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of this video is The Multiplication of Twin Flames. So excited I was to get onto camera to record this that I'm sitting on here with wet hair. I haven't even dried my hair yet, but I was really fired up to record this morning because in my own awareness it suddenly became really clear to me how to articulate something that's been swimming around in my consciousness for a while. So the multiplication of twin flames. In a certain level of consciousness, and I'm going to refer to it as old school twin flame union, and if you're not sure what I mean, you can refer back to my previous two videos, particularly the one on the definition of soul connections that would explain where I'm coming from on that. In a certain aspect of consciousness, and this is inner consciousness, your own perception of the world, your own filtration system of which you view the world, perceive the world and live in the world. If you're connected in with that old, I'm going to call it the old school twin flame union template, in that mode of consciousness there is the one. So you're aware that you are the one, and within the other you are also the one, and you are aware of the one in that timeline, in that time with you. And that actually is an amazing, beautiful thing and serves the purpose it's meant to serve, but it's also an amazing amount of suffering and pain because you are aware that you are the one and they are the one and you are aspects of the one. When you're not with that one or you're separated from that one, because you have been reminded of the one, and then you are launched into the perception of two again, separation again, consciousness. You go through a myriad of things over a period of months and years, really, relearning to go back to the one again. In that mode of consciousness, you will have the perception there is only one expression of your consciousness within you and within another in your timeline, only one twin flame and only the one. And in that level of consciousness, in that perception, that actually is correct. That isn't wrong, that's correct. As you transition up, if you make the decision, the inner decision, the soul decision, to transition up in your awareness, to not stagnate, to not stop, to not get stuck in that suffering, to release the pain body, the emotional body, to go through your process and stages and move forward, if you make that inner decision for that process, then you have the potential to get to a stage within you which is part of the ascension process, only part of it, but that's part of it, and it's been activated. So these codes have been activated, and it's up to you if you want to access them or not, access this mode of consciousness. You have the potential internally as a state of consciousness to access the 12D blueprint. My word for it is a 12D blueprint which starts at minimum 5-dimensional baseline. So there's a process of change of consciousness. If you're coming from the old, up through the trenches, the old way round, which I did, had to go crawling my way through it. Once you access that state of consciousness, the 12D blueprint, starting at minimal 5-dimensional basis, then you have an infinite awareness of the one. The infinite awareness of the one means that you have the awareness that the one isn't just within you and the consciousness of another in your timeline, which was correct before you hit the 12D blueprint of consciousness. That wasn't incorrect, that was correct. Once you're in this 12D blueprint, it's a whole different ball game, and I've alluded to this in different ways in earlier videos. Once you hit that blueprint, the easiest way for me to describe it again is when spirit drops down into the form of soul, which then comes down into a vehicle, which I explained 2 videos back. If you want to look back at them, and it divides, it goes into, not divides, it comes down as one complete soul into 2 cars, if you like. But there are multiple cars run off the conveyor belt at the same time, which are all expressions of the one. Once you hit the 12D blueprint of consciousness, you will have the realization that there are other aspects of the one, think of the cars on the conveyor belt, still one that exist within that blueprint. So this is where people such as Matt Kahn, who brought out a video which really drove, let's call it the twin flame community, nuts. It did. A lot of them didn't agree with it at all, where he said there were multiple twin flames. People in the mode of consciousness where they had experienced one, for example, where they had experienced one, for example, they were actually correct in that mode of consciousness. They were correct thinking that. People that are accessing this 12D blueprint of awareness, they are also correct. Because as an inner alteration of state of consciousness, you have a recognition that consciousness is infinite, that the soul is infinite, that the soul can express not only multidimensionally in all the timelines, but the soul can express multidimensionally right the way across the board as other expressions at the same time in other embodiments. Let me backtrack again in case you're confused here. Both camps are correct, but they are 2 different inner states of consciousness. When you are in that, we'll call it the original, like I said earlier, the original state of consciousness, it is absolutely true that there is that one opposite you in your timeline, if that's your experience, for the purpose they've come in for. If you take the internal inner decision to continue to move forward in your journey, you will come to a state of consciousness potentially that you access your inner 12D blueprint, your infinite blueprint that is not limited by the expression of the one in your timeline in another human body. Once you enter that blueprint, you will have the awareness in the most wonderful way, not in a threatening, sad way, and it doesn't take away from the one as you or the one that you've seen in another. You will have the awareness that the one is in multiple, there are multiple expressions of the one. The one didn't just come down in 2 cars, it came down in a conveyor belt of cars, but it's still all the one. They're not separate ones, they're not separate bits of the one broken up into the cars, they're all one. It's all one. So I really hope that makes sense. I'm really excited and passionate about this because it's so funny. The last few days, I knew I had to bring videos out in almost like a series of stages. I always want to say I wasn't allowed inside to do it all at once. I had to kind of do little bits, because it's like tapping somebody over the head, a walnut with a little nutcracker or a little hammer, really. And I knew that it would, in some ways, it would be too much to take in myself and process myself, but too much to share for the people watching at once. It would be just too much. And there'll be some people who just won't resonate with this at all. It's too much of a challenge. But actually, both fields of perception are correct. Both are correct. In certain states of consciousness, old school twin flame union, absolutely correct about the one. But when you hit another state of consciousness within, you will have the realization that there is the multiplication of the one. All aspects of the one, all aspects of the one diamond, all fractals of the one, if you like. That's another way of putting it. I hope it makes sense. I've called it the multiplication of twin flames, and I am not going to use that term once we hit the 12D blueprint. I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to say there's loads of twin flames, but I had to call it that so you understood what I meant. In that, there is multiple possibilities of the one aspect within others once you hit that level. It does not take away from the experience you have. I brought a video out a long time ago, a year ago, saying the love is the only real thing in it, the love is real, and that is the only real thing in it, which is absolutely true. The love is true, that the experience is true, that they are life-changing, overpowering, amazing. But they all lead you back to the one. They all lead you back to love. On that note, I will love you and leave you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.